When Oliver was born, his mother, struggling with overwhelming fear, faced the most difficult decision of her life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories. The doctors told her that Oliver had a rare condition. His head would be abnormally large due to excess fluid in his brain. They said that his life would be filled with complications, surgeries, and uncertainty. The future seemed bleak. His mother, terrified and overwhelmed, abandoned him in the hospital, believing that no one could ever love a child like him. In the sterile, echoing halls of the orphanage, young Oliver's life began. But despite the care he received, the rejection from the world around him was immediate. The nurses had whispered behind closed doors. The other children stared and whispered cruel words, making him feel different in ways he couldn't yet understand. Still, he clung to the hope that someone somewhere would choose him. But for years, no one did. Oliver's life became a cycle of rejection. He was always the last to be chosen for games or group activities. When people came to visit the orphanage, they looked past him. They wanted the normal children, the ones who didn't stand out, the ones who weren't different. Every day, Oliver sat alone in the corners of the playroom, his oversized head a constant reminder of what he believed to be his curse. The other children teased him mercilessly. They called him names, threw cruel jokes his way, and left him to suffer in silence. Despite his tenderness, his kindness to the younger children, he was always the one left behind. One day, after years of this heartbreaking treatment, something extraordinary happened. A couple, Derek and Clara, came to the orphanage with a warm, genuine look in their eyes. They weren't like the others. The moment they stepped into the orphanage, their eyes scanned the children, but they didn't just look at the surface. They were searching for something deeper. Clara, a kind-hearted woman with a soft smile, noticed Oliver immediately, though he was sitting in the corner, hiding from the world. Derek, who stood beside her, seemed to read her mind. His voice was gentle when he asked, "Who is that boy?" The matron, a woman who had seen so many come and go, sighed heavily. "His name is Oliver. He's a special boy, but his condition, it makes it hard for anyone to look past it." Oliver had heard the rumors over the years, the whispers of people passing by, always too disgusted to look closer. But this time, Derek and Clara were different. They didn't see him as a freak. Instead, they saw a boy in need of love, a boy who deserved a chance at happiness. Oliver didn't know it, but their hearts were already set. Derek and Clara knew that he was the one they had been searching for all this time. The next few days passed in a blur for Oliver, his mind racing with fear and excitement. Could it be true? Could someone actually want him? The day they decided to bring him into their lives, Oliver was overwhelmed. He stood in the corner of the orphanage, his stuffed bunny clutched tightly in his small hands, his eyes wide with anticipation. When Clara approached him, her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Oliver, we'd like to take you home with us." The words didn't register immediately. It felt like a dream. Home. With them. Clara smiled, a warm, welcoming smile. "You don't have to be afraid. We'll be your family. We'll love you." Oliver didn't know how to respond. It was too much to believe. But the tenderness in Clara's eyes and the warmth in Derek's presence made something shift inside him. Could it be possible that this was real? As they left the orphanage, Oliver sat quietly in the back of their car, his hands gripping the stuffed bunny. His heart pounded in his chest as the car drove down the winding road, away from the place he had called home for so long. But it didn't feel like a home at all. It felt like a prison. When they arrived at their house, Oliver couldn't believe his eyes. It was a big, beautiful house, warm lights spilling from the windows. It looked like something from a fairy tale. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if it was real, unsure if they would change their minds like so many others before them. But Clara and Derek smiled gently, guiding him inside. They showed him his new room, a room that was his own. The walls were painted in soft blues and yellows. A bed with clean sheets sat in the corner, and there were shelves lined with books, toys, and stuffed animals. It felt so foreign, so new, so safe. "This is your room now, Oliver," Derek said, his voice full of warmth. Oliver couldn't speak. He simply nodded, his heart racing with hope. He clutched his bunny tightly, not wanting to let go. It was all so new. It was all so perfect. The days that followed were filled with change. Oliver started to feel something he had never felt before. He started to feel like he belonged. Derek and Clara didn't see him as different. They didn't treat him like the other kids had. They loved him, not because of how he looked, but because of who he was. But the road ahead was not easy. Oliver still had his surgeries to face. The condition he had, though treated, still lingered in the background, a constant reminder that he was different. But with Derek and Clara by his side, he faced each challenge with courage. They were there at every doctor's appointment, every surgery, holding his hand through it all. As the months passed, Oliver's condition improved. He was no longer the fragile boy with the oversized head, but a healthier, stronger child, still loved and accepted by his new family. One day, when Oliver was getting ready for his first day of school, he felt the old fear creeping back. Would they stare at him? Would they make fun of him? But Derek and Clara were there to reassure him. "You're going to be great," Clara said, her voice gentle. "Just be yourself. You've already proven how strong you are." At school, Oliver was nervous, but the other children didn't stare at him like he feared. They didn't treat him any differently. They smiled at him, played with him, and he made his first friend. For the first time in his life, he felt like he belonged. As the years went on, Oliver continued to grow, not just in stature but in confidence. Derek and Clara never wavered in their love for him, and he flourished in their care. He was no longer the boy who felt abandoned and unloved. He was part of a family, a real family. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, Clara smiled at Oliver, her eyes filled with pride. "We're so proud of you, Oliver." And for the first time in his life, Oliver didn't feel different. He didn't feel like the boy with the big head. He was just Oliver, a child who was loved, a child who belonged. The journey had been long and filled with heartbreak, but Oliver had finally found his place in the world. He had found a family who loved him for who he was, and in doing so, he had found himself. As the years passed, Oliver blossomed in ways no one, not even Clara and Derek, could have imagined. The quiet, withdrawn boy they had once met in the corner of the orphanage had transformed into a bright, compassionate young man. He was no longer defined by his condition or the cruelty of his past, but by the strength of his heart and the love that now surrounded him. Oliver's relationship with Derek and Clara deepened. They weren't just his adoptive parents. They were his best friends, his guiding lights. He often found himself in awe of how much they had sacrificed for him, how much they had believed in him when the world seemed to turn its back. They taught him what it truly meant to love and be loved, to stand strong in the face of adversity, and to never give up on hope. As Oliver grew older, he began to understand that the love he had found in Derek and Clara was not just the kind of love that protected him from the world, but the kind of love that taught him to embrace the world, to take on its challenges, and to stand proud of who he was. He no longer saw himself as the boy with the oversized head. He saw himself as Oliver, the son, the friend, the dreamer, the achiever. On his first day of high school, Oliver walked into the school with a newfound confidence. He no longer felt the weight of his past pressing on his shoulders. He walked with his head held high, a smile on his face, and a heart full of excitement for the future. He had made peace with who he was and who he was becoming. The other students, who once might have looked at him differently, now treated him with kindness and respect. His peers came to admire his strength and resilience, not just because of his condition, but because of his character. He became someone others looked up to, someone who had triumphed over hardships that most couldn't even begin to fathom. Through his high school years, Oliver found his passion for helping others. Inspired by the kindness and support he had received from Derek and Clara, he began volunteering at the local orphanage, working with children who had faced struggles like his. He wanted to show them that despite the darkness in their lives, there was always a light at the end of the tunnel. He wanted to teach them that no matter how different they felt, no matter how broken they believed they were, there was always hope. Oliver's story was one of growth, of shedding the pain of the past and stepping boldly into the future. He had once believed that he was unworthy of love, that no one could ever accept him for who he was. But with the unwavering love of Derek and Clara, he had learned the truth. That love wasn't just about acceptance, it was about seeing each other for who we truly are, flaws and all, and choosing to love anyway. And one day, as he sat in a quiet moment with Derek and Clara, reflecting on everything he had been through, he realized just how far he had come. He wasn't just a survivor. He was a victor. He had won not by fighting against the world, but by allowing himself to be loved, and in turn, learning to love himself. "You've come so far, Oliver," Clara said softly, a tear of pride in her eyes as she looked at him. "We're so proud of you. You're everything we could have ever hoped for in a son." Derek nodded, his voice filled with emotion. "You've always been special, Oliver. You just had to see it for yourself." Oliver smiled, his heart full. "I think I finally do." As the years continued to unfold, Oliver's journey was far from over. Life had a way of throwing challenges his way. But with Derek and Clara by his side, he was ready to face anything that came his way. The pain of his past would always be a part of him, but it no longer defined him. He was now a testament to resilience, to the power of love, and to the incredible transformation that can happen when someone believes in you. And as he lay down at night, under the soft glow of his bedside lamp, with his stuffed bunny still beside him as a reminder of the boy he once was, Oliver closed his eyes with peace in his heart, knowing that no matter what, he would never have to face the world alone again. He had found his place, his family, and most importantly, his worth. And that, he knew, was the greatest gift of all.